What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Question the Narrative. I'm David Shane, and I've got my co-host with me, Ricardo. What's up,
Hey,
buddy? How you doing?
great. How you?
Doing pretty good. A little tired. A little tired.
Yeah,
Other
yeah. It's
than
good
that,
to
a
see
lot.
you.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to be back for another episode.
Yeah, for sure. We got a fun one today. We haven't really talked about this one in particular, but this has been a fun, interesting topic for me for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, so what we got planned today is we're gonna show you guys some video and pictures of old world buildings, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to try to wrap our heads around the idea that we somehow built this stuff in the dark ages with no technology, with horse and buggy and hammer and chisel. And after we show you guys this architecture, these buildings, I think you're going to be asking the same questions we are. How did they do it? And it just doesn't make any sense, and obviously we're being lied to about how these buildings were built, when they were built, and who built them. Wouldn't you agree?
I definitely agree, and just about who built them is a mind boggler because it just doesn't line up. It doesn't match anything, and it just boggles the mind when you look at these pictures like I was telling you, and it's just crazy to just even fathom it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, because we don't see stuff like this even being built today, with all the modern technology we have and the machinery, the excavators and bulldozers and cranes and the power tools. We can't build this stuff today. So how did they do it? 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, whatever. How'd they do it in the dark ages with hammer and chisel and horses and buggies?
I know.
It makes
Yeah.
absolutely no sense.
Yeah, just the architecture around the people in the pictures, it doesn't line up at all.
No, the people definitely look out of place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does look out of place, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of get into it right quick, and we'll just kind of listen to this dude right here. And guys, this documentary, if you have not seen it, you really need to watch it. I got through the whole thing, and you can see it's 5 hours long. I had to watch it in several different settings and stuff like that, but it is definitely worth your time. It's called The Lost History of Flat Earth, and you can see it's 7 parts, but they compiled it all into one long video. And it's just super, it's going to be super beneficial to everyone who may not have heard about this information. And what's crazy is it does talk about the flat earth and all that, what we like to call biblical cosmology, but it talks a lot about the old world, the old buildings, even the all the canal systems even that have been built. It's like, where how were these built? How was it done? Because the time frame that they say that they were constructed in, and the amount of time that it took them to actually do it, it just doesn't make any sense with the technology that they would have had back then. And it doesn't line up like we were saying. And this is just a very good documentary. And if you look down here, you got David Weiss's app, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac, and he's got a lot of great information on that as well if you'd like to check that out. I'm not getting paid to say any of this, but it's just a good resource for you guys to look into for sure. So I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. Shane, if you have any comments, just stop me and we'll just talk about it, right?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, here we go.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Our journey begins in the unlikeliest of places, 19th century St. Petersburg, at the entrance to St. Isaac's Cathedral. The city cold, the early morning mists dissipated with the approach of the sun, and our boots caked in mud. The year is 1860, and while St. Petersburg stands regal and proud.
Oh, sorry, I gotta.
Yeah.
Look at that. I just gotta pause it. That's
incredible architecture.
like, look at the detail, like all of this, those little pillars, and I can't fathom it.
You know, not only is there the issue of them not having, or supposedly not having, the technology that we have today, but you know how expensive a building like that would be?
Yeah.
Where did they even get the funds? And these buildings were everywhere, all over this earth, all over this realm. They've destroyed a lot of them, in the 1800s with all the fires and stuff. Not only that, but the 2 world wars, a lot of these buildings just happened to get destroyed. But where did they get the funding and the time and the resources and the manpower and the tools and the equipment? It doesn't make any sense. But
yeah. It doesn't. And I got a comment to say, but I'll save it for later. I know I won't forget this. It's just concerning these buildings and the actual design of it. It's like the detail of it and all of these little what do you call, like, these little pillar things that they were used to basically collect energy from the ether,
Yeah, it's like a was it a cathode or
yeah it comes from the word cathedral, right?
Yeah.
So and I'll just say it right now, and I didn't get this. I heard this from Paul at Understanding Conspiracy, and he was saying, and it made a lot of sense, that these buildings are basically sound in the physical, because like you know how some people they'll put sand or whatever on this like little platform, and they'll put different like sound vibrations, and they'll make all these different shapes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of that in those buildings, it resembles a lot of those shapes, even like star forks and all that crazy architecture. You know what I mean? It's like they're shaped in a certain way that just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, like you're talking about like cymatics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think there's obviously been a lot of knowledge that has been, lost or actually just deliberately hidden from us over the centuries. And cymatics is definitely one of them. Sonoluminescence is another. You've got acoustic levitation, electromagnetic levitation. That's how they were able to lift a lot of this heavy stuff, I think, without modern technology and cranes and excavators and big machinery, heavy machinery.
Yeah, and another thing that, which this is even insane to say, but it's not insane if you believe that God spoke the world into existence. And like I had said, this stuff is like sound incarnate. And what if God, if these buildings are truly millennial kingdom buildings, why would it be impossible for him to just speak it and it was so, like we were saying with the creation?
Oh yeah, that's definitely possible. I mean,
Yeah.
he spoke and the sun appeared. You know what I mean? He said, "Let there be light," and there was light.
Yeah.
And he spoke all the stars into existence, this earth. I mean, everything. So yeah, that's not too far fetched, especially if it's Jesus who is God. You know what I mean? He could have certainly spoke this stuff into existence.
And that would explain the impossibility of like what we're looking at, the architecture. I mean, even with our technology today, I mean, how long would something like this take? And not only the time, but you were talking about the resources, like how much money would it cost? I mean, I say hundreds of millions of dollars, you know what I'm saying? If not more.
Oh yeah, excuse me. Oh yeah, even back then, and from what we're taught about the people in this time period, they were extremely poor.
Yeah.
Even our government was fairly poor back then. So, and these buildings are found all over North America, all over the place. So yeah, where did all that funding come from? You know what I mean? The money, the resources, the materials, the manpower. Where did all that come from?
Exactly.
Maybe, just maybe, these buildings weren't built during the quote unquote dark ages or during the Renaissance period, whatever. Maybe they were built during the millennial reign of Christ, during the 1,000-year reign. And, we had angels, you had saints, you had all types of, different ways that they could have built it under the power and the authority of Jesus. And like you said, he didn't even have to build it. He could have just spoke these buildings into existence and it would have been so. So we really don't know, but the story we're given does not add up. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't believe it for a second.
Go
ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, even the bells that we've talked about in previous studies that they had like healing power, like through sound frequencies you can be healed, and they had like these buildings, they just resonate the sound so well, and even like with the organs and stuff, like to play those organs and heal your actual organs, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, man, it's just crazy to think about. Like, I mean, because in the millennial reign, people lived a lot longer too. And could this be because of this technology?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I don't think they weren't injecting the masses with poison, you know what I mean? With mercury and aluminum through, the V word. I can't say it, but you know what I mean? They weren't using fluoride toothpaste. They weren't drinking fluoride in the tap water. It was just a totally different time, a totally different world, and I believe it was a different age altogether. You know what I mean? It was literally a different age.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna push play on this, and we'll continue. We only listened to 28 seconds of it, but I mean, there's just a lot to say. I mean, just looking at this building, it's nuts. But I'm gonna push play.
It's nuts. Yeah.
Its inhabitants are nowhere to be found. It is quiet, too quiet. The population of St. Petersburg in the 1860s was, we are told, roughly 500,000 people, and yet there is not a soul in sight.
Looks like a
Where
ghost
is
city.
everybody?
Ghost town. Where'd everyone go?
I don't know. It's a ghost town. Look, there's not a soul in sight.
Nobody anywhere.
The long shadow of Alexander Column gives us a clue as to the time of the sun's journey above this region. Long shadows only occur during morning or evening. It must be morning, but it appears that no one has surfaced yet. If we travel 400 miles across to Moscow, we see the same thing. Empty, quiet streets. In 1860, Moscow shared a similar population with St. Petersburg, roughly 500,000 citizens. But again, where is everybody?
Wow.
It's a good question.
Yeah, that's a really good
What about
question.
the rest of the world during this time period? Edinburgh, Scotland, 1840s. Copenhagen, Denmark, 1840s. Dresden, Germany, 1860s. Rio in Brazil, 1860s. Toronto, Canada, 1860s. Athens in Greece, 1860s.
I'm wondering who took all these pictures as well.
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering.
And then London,
Like,
finally.
look at that. Look
Yeah.
at that building right there. That's insane. That's like a massive castle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, look at these people standing a little bit closer up to the building, and how?
Yeah.
And look, you got the horse and buggy people here, like we were talking about, and got their little top hats and umbrellas, and you got this just structure.
Dude, do you know how many decades it would take to build a structure like that for these type of people with horse and buggy and hammer and chisel? And the population wasn't that dense back then, so where'd you get all the workers from? You know what I mean? It would have took decades and decades and decades, and so much money and materials and resources. It's almost as if whoever built this building literally had nothing better to do than to sit around and build all day, than to work all day.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're told about this time period. You know what I mean? We're told this is like built during the Dark Ages, where there was so much famine and disease and pestilence and war and just darkness and poverty. You don't build stuff like that during a time of war or through poverty. You know what I mean?
Right.
Stuff like that gets built during an age of peace and prosperity
And abundance.
It's like I said, it's like they didn't have anything better to do than to build
Exactly.
beautiful structures because everything was at peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it is. I totally agree. And it's just like everything is always inverted with Satan and the enemy. So if he says it was the Dark Ages, I mean, it's probably the Light Ages, when things were the best of the best. It was dark for him because he was in the pit for 1,000 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was dark for him.
Yeah.
Wow. And notice,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm sorry. Notice how the sky is always whited out in all these photos. It's almost as if there was something lingering around in the skies back then. Now this one looks like it could be due to the exposure, but a lot of these pictures you can tell the sky has been intentionally whitewashed. Like, yeah. And I don't know if you've noticed that yet, but if you look, you can tell it's like they took some sort of, I don't know, they did something to whitewash the background and the skies in a lot of these old photos. And that's really suspicious to me. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's something interesting.
Yeah, keep that in mind when you're looking through these. In the future, you'll notice it. You can literally, how like you can use Photoshop and go through and turn everything white with it. That's literally how it looks in some of these photos. Like someone has went through and just blotted out, took out the background.
Yeah. I was gonna say real quick too that this is something that I had thought about a while back, and just because I had brought up the inversion thing. So, they're taking darkness, they're saying it was dark, but maybe it was really light. But the whole reference of the Reaper or the Grim Reaper, how it's always like scary, evil, like the Reaper's gonna come get you. So that's been indoctrinated in us forever. But in the Word of God, who are the Reapers actually?
The angels.
Like, they're not the bad. They're actually the good. They're the Reapers. They're reaping the harvest for the Lord. You know what I mean? Gathering all His saints and stuff. Those are the Reapers. But I mean, that's just another example that I thought about, how it's just totally inverted, where the Grim Reaper is like this like cryptic looking thing with it's hooded. It's gonna come take your soul to hell and all this. But actually, like in the Word of God, I mean, the Reapers are His servants, His angels, to come collect His harvest.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's just like the old devil. He just turns everything, upside down and inverts it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to keep going on this, all right?
Yeah.
People. Variable. Go up at the union and that.
Oh. They're at a place.
Yeah, well,
And what about Paris?
Go ahead.
That one building looked like, just when I see buildings like that, it looks like a temple to me. Not this, it was just a couple back. It looked like a temple of some sort. Kind of like our Capitol building looks. That, to me, looks like an old temple.
Yeah.
You know that movie, what was it, Troy? With Brad Pitt in it.
Yep.
Where they went in and cut the head off of Apollo. That temple looked a lot like that building right there, with the huge columns. Not this one, but you'd have to rewind it just a fuzz.
Is it that one?
Whoa, it's right after that one. Go ahead and hit play from there, and I'll tell you when to stop it. Right there.
That one?
That one with the big columns. Remember, that looks just like that temple in the movie Troy, that temple of Apollo.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what that, what that is by any means, but
I mean, even those columns, like, look how, like, how do you do that with this? What they got, these little horse and buggy, and you can see these people that are close up to the steps. And I mean, even if this person is 6 foot tall, I mean, look, I mean, it's just massive. I mean, they didn't have lifts. They didn't have anything like what we would have. Even our lifts today would struggle to get something like that up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and look above it. Look at that intricate.
All this
Those those are what do you
like
call it?
sculptures.
Sculptures carved into the stone, whatever type of stone they built that with. That's artwork. That is fine, highly detailed artwork into the stone of this building above the columns. That took a lot of extra time. They didn't, you know what I mean? If you're in poverty in the Dark Ages, you would not take the time to carve all of these highly detailed sculptures and do all this artwork. You wouldn't do that. You would be as economical as possible, you know?
Yeah.
We don't even do that stuff today.
No. You do what you got to do. Put up the pole barn structure, made of tin. Just get in and get out and get paid and move on to the next one. That's our society today. I mean, we wouldn't spend this type of time putting this amount of detail into something unless you're paying us for years on end to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can't even imagine how much time it would have taken to carve all that out with a hammer and chisel. I can't imagine.
And even behind, so you see how tall you see behind this building how tall those pillars are, and then you got this behind it. It's even tall. Like, look at the tops of these behind this. It's even bigger, taller. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yes, that's crazy.
But yeah, you're right. It does look like a temple of sorts,
Of some sort, yeah. Maybe that was some type of a church or a synagogue during the millennial reign,
Yeah.
And they portray it in movies like Troy to be this, pagan type temple. So your mind doesn't go where it should go when you see stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard to say what it was.
Yeah. I'm going to keep going here.
Okay.
And what about Paris? People, life.
Yeah, they just popped up out of nowhere.
The first photograph, we are told, was created in 1822. The art of photography relies on methods of juxtaposition, of comparison and contrast to deliver its message and sentiment. In these old photographs, we do not find the same deliberate techniques of juxtaposition that contemporary photographers craft into their art, but rather we find natural contrasts that are so important and central to navigating through our deceptive history. Contrast is a phenomenon, natural or artificial, in which meaning is generated and conveyed through the comparison of two opposing elements. When looking at 1860s Russia, there is an immediate contrast between the lack of population and the sheer size of these cities. Even in the 19th century, both Moscow and St. Petersburg are enormous. The infrastructure.
Yeah, this is enormous, and it's like there's not even a soul in sight. It's crazy.
That's insane. You would literally have to argue that the photographer forced everyone to go inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're
on
your
lockdown.
that's your only argument, is the photographer made everyone stay in their homes or hide somewhere until he could get done taking these photos.
Absolutely.
And we know how people are. People aren't going to do that. They would have been busy on their journey to work or from work, to or from work, or to and from the market, every morning.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to convince that many people in an area that big to all stay home so you can take a photograph.
Yeah, it makes us happening. No, it doesn't.
Structure found in the photographs could hold a population well into the millions.
Yeah.
Why are the cities so vast if the population was only 500,000 in each? Furthermore, The official narrative gives us a population that increases in a linear fashion.
Okay, so yeah, this is nuts right here too. So you see, what's is that mil? Yeah, that million, 2 million right here. Is that what that is? 2 million, 4, 6, 8, 10. But that doesn't even seem right in 2000. It's saying, or is that just in Moscow? What he was talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, look at that. It's just a straight up spike right there.
Yeah.
Like what happened here?
Yeah, what caused the population to explode like
You know
that?
what's crazy? It's like right here. So like right in after the 1900s, it's right under 2 million. And look at this dip right here. Goes to maybe like 1.5. And then within what, like maybe 90 years, less or something like that, it like literally 5 times, you know, from or more, you know, what 1.5 million to 10 million, over 10 million. I mean, that's 9 million increase. I mean, that's crazy.
It more than quadrupled in less than a century.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this, you know, late 1800s, early 1900s, you know. So I mean, something happened. You know what I mean? It's just like, what is this about?
And that just starts at the 1700s. Imagine how small the population would have been if we had a chart like that would show us all the way back to like the 1500s.
Yeah.
Or the 13th. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There would have been almost no people. Where did everybody go? Where did everybody come from?
Yeah.
During this short period of time.
Right. Yeah. All right, I'm going to keep going.
From 1764. Many of the buildings we see here were built years before the photograph was taken. Did the Russians just plan well in advance? That is, when the population is introduced into these photographs, that a new contrast emerges that is staggering. That is, between the people and the environment itself. It may be the reduced population numbers, or it may be the monochromatic starkness of the black and white images, but they present to us something that we've lived amongst our entire lives and never paid any mind to. That is, the enormity and impossibility of the art.
Were you going to say something?
Just real quick, the picture right before this one.
Okay.
Can you go back to that one real quick? Yeah. It had angels, sculptures of angels on top of the building.
Yeah. It's just, I think that's, wait, no. What were you going to say about it?
I mean, it's just the first thought that came to mind. I mean, during the millennial reign, that's the type of statues you would put, or in sculptures you would put on top of buildings. Sculptures of angels. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right there. Look at on top. That's an angel on each corner. Obviously, because you can see their wings and they're dressed in a robe. This little type of, I don't know what those are beside it, but who takes the time to
do that? Yeah.
To do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's decorative.
Yeah, that's just massive. It's so high up. You know what I'm saying? It's nuts.
It's huge.
Yeah. Let's see.
Mind too. That is the enormity and impossibility of the architecture.
Yeah, impossibility.
As we engage
right?
with the industry,
Literal.
an act of tourism, we journey from place to place and observe, taking it all in, learning, hearing, and being told what we are looking at and how it came to be. And standing in front of a structure like the Arc de Triomphe in Paris,
Look at this.
That's wild. Look,
I mean,
look at that artwork.
I mean,
Dude,
look
they're
at
tiny compared to the building.
Exactly. It just
Thing.
it just boggles the mind to even look at that.
And look at that arch. Look at that
Yeah.
arch. And
Yeah.
that's artwork under that arch. And above it, two beings, angelic beings again, pointing
They
at
got
each other.
trumpets.
Trumpets.
Yeah, it looks like they got trumpets.
They got trumpets. They certainly do.
But look at all this stuff up here. And then, I mean, it's a lot of work. If someone did it, if God didn't speak it into existence, I mean, it's definitely a lot of work.
Yeah. A ton of work. For human beings, poor little peasants with horse and buggy and hammer and chisel
For sure.
to do all that. But it would be easy. And I'll be quick so we can get back to the video. But even if you don't want to subscribe or believe that Jesus or God spoke this into existence, which he certainly could have, how easy it would be to build this if you had the help of angels. If you had angels helping you, it'd been super easy.
Right.
Super easy.
Exactly. And he's going to get into this, you got these tourists, they go and look at these structures and stuff, and you just probably at first you're in awe. And how did they do this? And you just blow it off. Obviously they did it because it's here. You know what I mean? And okay, well, yeah, let's go. Let's move on. And it's all like that. I mean, people don't even think twice about it. I mean, but like what we're doing, just examine it and actually look at it and the possibility of it. Like he said,
there's so much detail. It would be it'd be impossible for humans to do this with the technology we're told and the abilities we're told that they had at that time and the funding. It's just impossible. But yet people don't think about it, man. They don't put any thought into it. They accept what they're told and they go on. They don't question the narrative. You know what I mean?
exactly.
The biggest excuse or that we're told or reason we're told on how they built this, you know what they say? I think most of the time in those tours, those tour guides, the slaves built it. Slaves.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, yeah. They just had better work ethic than us, right? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, but even, looking at this up here, it's, I hate to say it, but today it would be a complete waste of time for someone to spend. I mean, what purpose does this serve right here? Really? What purpose does it serve? To spend that much time on this arched looking structure.
That's a good
that
point.
much detail into it. I mean, it's just no one would do that.
No, they couldn't afford to do that. Number one, to take that much, like you said, that much time and energy and money to put in that kind of detail. Look at the face of that thing, all the detail going all the way up to the top. I mean, they didn't have the funds and the resources, nor the time, nor the manpower to do that. I mean, we just saw that graph of, the population. Those people had normal jobs, factory jobs, and all sorts of odd jobs, but they didn't have the time and the resources to build that. You'll never convince me that they did. Why would they?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it'd be a waste of time for them to do that because it serves absolutely no purpose in, like, for us today. I mean, maybe back then, maybe they just they just wanted to create art and just have these beautiful structures to impress their father, let's say, in heaven, if they did. I'm
Amen.
saying that they did do it, but I mean, if you're in a glorified body, you're going to be as the angels, and you're going to be, what else are you going to do in that time? If that's
Exactly. They had 1,000 years. Like you said, what else you got to do? Let's build some beautiful stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Hey, Jesus, look what I did. And then you tell Billy over here, I look what I built. And then Billy's going to be, oh, well, I could do that too, or I can do better. Look at this, Jesus, look at what I did.
And when Jesus was, on earth, in the first advent, when he was here, he was a carpenter. He built things.
Exactly.
So
yeah. So I mean, it's not anything foreign. Jesus built stuff too. I mean,
oh yeah, can you imagine what beautiful woodwork, or I don't know exactly what all he built, but I know he was a carpenter. Can you imagine how beautiful his work was?
Yeah.
And just imagine all of his millions and thousands and 10,000s of saints, like you said, in glorified bodies with knowledge that's out of this world. Imagine what they could have built, what they did build.
Yeah, they definitely had a knowledge that has been lost today for sure, because of the design in these cathedrals, what we call today. It's just like it's sound incarnate, and they were made to resonate sound. And even if you look at some of these structures, which he gets into this, but it's not till like way later, but a lot of the layout of this, bro, it looks like a motherboard of a computer, which is insane, because how do you get above high enough to be that symmetrical to look like that? You know what I'm saying? It's just, it doesn't make any sense at all.
No, they had to have had the ability to fly, you know what I mean? To get that, like you said, high above it, to make sure all of it was symmetrical down below. They could fly. They mounted up on the wings as as eagles.
And even we were talking about the star forts, and here we go. I'll just click on this. So 1646, that's where we were. But
what if I told you that instead of setting up a green screen, you can just...
We're getting a little ad here. Hold on, guys. So, I mean, look at this right here. I mean, you see, it's like there's water around it, and like, look at that.
Wow.
Like the symmetry of that is...
You could...
It makes my mind hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like with like, how do you do this and make it so perfectly symmetrical without any, like, horse and buggy? You know what I'm saying? Like what we were saying, horse and buggy.
You can't without aerial observation. You know what I mean? You'd have to have something up in the air watching, telling people, hey, this goes here, hey, that goes there. I mean, you had to have aerial technology.
Yeah, who laid out the groundwork on all that? Who was the designer? You know what I'm saying? It's just
one heck of an architect, man. That's all I can say.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, okay, we're right around here. Let's see. Get back into it. think we're at 1646. So yeah, it's just.
And being told what we are looking at and how it came to be. And standing in front of a structure like the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, we might even exclaim, wow, how did they do this? But the moment, inextricably wrapped up in the busyness of the scene, perhaps prevents us from really asking that question with sincerity. Standing in front of a structure like the Arc de Triomphe, while the crowd frantically takes pictures on their smartphones, makes it all a reality. And we conclude, before being shoved away by new tourists, well, they had to have done it somehow because I'm here and looked at it. Exactly. During our indoctrination at school.
That's like the normie response. Oh, well, it's here, so they must have did it somehow. You know? It's just like, really? That's your best answer? Oh, they must have did it. Because it's here, I'm looking at it. Yeah, whatever.
We are seldom shown old photographs of the grand cities scattered around our flat realm. And perhaps for good reason. Because when we marinate on images like this, are presented with the visual evidence.
Okay, so this is
another one.
This is another view of the same archway that we were just looking. I mean, look at this.
Wow. And you know what? That archway, that doesn't match the city behind it. That's an archway you would build that is entering into some type of...
like a city?
A kingdom.
Shit.
You know, I mean, a massive city, a kingdom-like city. I mean, maybe, I think there was more to it. You know what I mean? I think
yeah, for sure.
The buildings behind it don't match this archway. I think this was an entrance into a much different looking city.
Yeah. It's huge.
The old one might have been destroyed or something. Who knows? But why would you just? I don't know. That doesn't match.
No, it definitely doesn't match.
Wow.
Of a very primitive Victorian people.
Okay, so I hate to keep pausing, but this is on top. This is on top of that. So, I mean, it's already a massive enough structure, and you got this. I mean, imagine you're on top of here doing all this. Like, okay, how are we getting down now?
Yeah. Maybe they had wings. They just flew down.
Maybe so. I mean, maybe so. Yeah, that's nuts.
Dotted around like grasshoppers within the shadows of the most magnificent, grandiose, brilliant architecture a human could ever imagine, we begin to have doubts. Indeed, how did they build this?
How?
The Arc de Triomphe is made from 36,695 cubic meters of limestone and weighs 95,407 tons, or just over 95 million kilograms.
Limestone.
They tell us it took 12 years to build the giant arch in two different periods, between 1806 to 1814.
Okay. They said it took them 12 years to build this. Okay, so in the 1800s, and we saw earlier the people, the horse and buggy people. I mean, just think about it, guys. Come on, just think about it. It doesn't line up.
No.
And between 1832 to 1836, how did they transport this amount of limestone with the same horse and cart that we see in the photographs? Look closer at the 4 sculptures that adorn each of its sides.
Dude, see what I'm saying? That's like as the detail. Not only that, look at this scene they're portraying. That is an angel, and then you've got someone on a horse. But What's that? That doesn't even look like a full human on that horse, but still, that's like a scene they're portraying. You know what I mean?
Bro, that's a unicorn or something. Look at this on this right side. Look, it's got horns right here, and is that?
I can't see your cursor. Oh, that's a unicorn on that side.
Yeah, on the right
holding
side.
on to the unicorn.
Yeah, it's like he's holding on to it.
And that looks like an angel too. I mean, just look at that breastplate. Look at the detail just in the breastplate. And on this other one, look at the detail.
Even the leaves, the feathers, the
feathers,
the horse. It's even the men, the
chiseled.
Yeah, chiseled.
They're all ripped and chiseled. Dude, that's too much detail. That alone, to carve these with hammer and chisel, back then would have took several years, maybe 10 years alone, just to do these two scenes in that much detail out of limestone. Whoa, man.
12 years to do
all of it.
All of it, exactly.
With horse and buggy. Hammers and chisels.
Not to mention what you would say this is like probably 100 feet up in the air. Or am I over exaggerating? I mean,
no, it's about 100 feet off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's massive.
Dude,
it's massive. I know.
Look at the intricacy of the sculptures.
There you go. Look at this guy.
One blowing a trumpet.
Breastplate. Yep. Blowing a trumpet. This guy's blowing a trumpet too. He's in battle array. Got the soldier. It's like an angel type figure with a sword.
Yeah. Just looking at it, dude, it's almost like it's actual. I mean, I know that's not what it is, but it's almost like actual people that got turned into stone. It's so detailed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, okay, so not even to mention all the other stuff that we just talked about, but even look at the flowiness of the fabric. Look at that.
Yeah.
Like how? Look at that.
Dude, that's so... Yeah, how did they do that?
Yeah. It's nuts.
And the patterning of the ornamentation that frames the arch. Each section is perfectly repeated without any deviation or inconsistency.
Right. It's perfect.
The first true power tool was not invented until 60 years after this arch was completed.
Take that in mind. The time that they said that this was built, the first power tool wasn't even made until 60 years after. So what is your conclusion then if you are going to let cognitive dissonance take over and just say, well, it had to have been, they had slave labor, they did it. Where are you going to get this type of, that's skilled labor beyond imagination.
Yeah.
No power tools.
It's impossible.
Yeah. It is.
It's impossible with man.
Yeah. Yeah.
They tell us this was crafted by hand. Is that even possible?
No.
And then there is the ceiling of the arch. Immaculate. Free.
It's perfectly symmetrical. Look at that detail. That's on the arch. Yeah, it's amazing.
These sculpted roses, perfect in their geometric symmetry. The nuance of the detail and finesse of each petal and cross-section borders is...
Not only the squares and the flowers within the squares, but even all of this detail work in between all the squares is insane.
Indeed.
And this is, he said it was all limestone.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Overwhelming. Look at the rest of Paris during this time. Again, a plethora of unbelievable, gigantic, and magnificent structures. The city's infrastructure glorious, and the people and their means of transport primitive, unsophisticated, and seeming not at all developed to the point of producing a city like this. The roads are improperly paved and uneven. They are dirty and muddy.
Yeah.
We also see buildings during this period in which the architecture aligns with the inhabitants. Buildings of misshapen proportions, less developed and refined, charming in their own way, but coarse in their use of wood and plaster. This is exactly the type of architecture we expect of a general.
It's almost as if they found this architecture. They didn't build it. You know what I mean? It's like they just stumbled upon it and then claimed it, made up some sort of backstory for how they built it or how their ancestors built it at some point in time. But yeah, that's the type of stuff you'd expect to be built with hammer and chisel and horse and buggy and slave labor. Not that other stuff. That's
no.
Something's not. The math ain't mathing.
The math ain't mathing. That's for sure. Yeah, it's just crazy. And you see, like right there, it kind of looks like with the horse and buggy as to what they would kind of produce with their technology, right? I mean, it's literally looks unproportional, not any sort of like technology and stuff. Like I could see this picture right here that we're looking at would be more of like a horse and buggy type structure, you know what I mean? But everything else is just that we've been looking at. It's crazy to even fathom.
Yeah, mind-boggling. It really is.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So, yeah, guys, if you guys like this content right here, and if you want us to get deeper into this, I know we just barely scratched the surface, and we are just still learning ourselves. But as you can see in this short demonstration, it's just proof that it's impossible what we've been told with the technology they had to produce the types of buildings that we are told that they produced, and just like, you know, this big structure right here that we were talking about, with all the detail and with the amount of time that they said it was built, it's just what are you going to believe? You're going to believe the mainstream narrative, or are you going to, as we say, question the narrative that we've been told? Because like Shane said, the math is not mathing.
Not at all.
It's not at all mathing. So yeah, I mean, if you have any closing statements, go ahead and do so.
I mean, I don't have much. I think I've, pretty well said, what was on my mind. Because the math doesn't add up. The story we're told doesn't add up. We just want you to question the narrative, like Ricardo just said. Please question it. Ask yourself how these people built these structures with so little, with no modern technology, no power tools. I mean, it makes no sense. We didn't live back then. We can't tell you with 100% certain what went on or how they were built or who even built them. All I do know is the story we're being fed and told. It's a lie. It's a load of crap, and I don't buy it for a second. So, To me, it points toward the kingdom, the millennial reign of Christ on earth. And they're covering that up. They're going to great lengths to hide that fact from us. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that's the only thing that really makes sense at this point, and it just doesn't line up any other way. But yeah, man, if you guys like this content and if you want us to dig in more of this, I mean, we enjoy this thoroughly, and myself, I'm fairly fresh at this, but I like to keep learning. We don't know everything, guys. Like there's just a lot that we don't know, and we're just having to try to piece these puzzle pieces together, and it's just, we see through a glass darkly, as the Bible says, and we're just searching for answers, just as you are, maybe, and we're just trying to get to the bottom of the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is.
Amen. Totally agree. And one more thing, we crossed 600 followers on Spotify with our podcast, and just want to give you guys a huge shout out. We thank you for your support. We love you and we appreciate you. And like Ricardo said, if you like this type of content, you want to learn more about it, give us some feedback, leave us some comments. You can also email us at questionthenarrative@yahoo.com. We're a little slow checking our emails sometimes because we're both really busy with our day jobs and whatnot through the week, but we will eventually get around to reading and responding to them. And yeah, guys, we love you and we appreciate you. Stay safe out there, and God bless.
Yes. Thanks for having us, guys. God bless.